Hello everybody, I'm your host Rafa. Welcome back to JRE in a nutshell, the only show online when someone timestamps and gives you opinions on every Joe Rogan Experience interview that happens. I understand that 3 hours is a long time, 3 hours average is a long time. We don't all have time for that. So there's a lot of interesting information coming out, and sometimes you're listening for an interview for 2 hours and you're like, this is kind of boring, and quit, and then 10 minutes later they talk about something really cool and you miss it. So that's never gonna happen again, because I'm here to let you know if the interview is cool, if the interview is boring, the topics they talk about. I have no connection to Joe Rogan or the Joe Rogan Experience, so I have no bias. I will tell you straight what I think, and most of the interviews are cool, some of them are not, are boring. I will let you know which ones are which. But before we start, please give me one of these, subscribe, press the bell so you can find out when I'm releasing episodes. This week we have 3 pretty cool interviews. We speak about FTX very, very in deep. We speak about religion. We speak about January 6th. We speak about chocolate. We speak about weed. The clip of the week is how to avoid paranoia when you're smoking weed. Pretty interesting if you like smoking. We speak about surviving apocalypse. We're speaking about the flat earth theory. Remember, we also have all over the episode, we're also going to find the hot news of the week, the clip of the week, and at the very end, when I finish talking, you're going to have a direct clip from one of the interviews with the quote of the week, which is normally a message of interest to the common people, to all of us. We also have a very, very cool surprise for you where I pulled a clip where you can see Joe literally getting the idea to make his podcast. All of that and more you will find here. So I hope you're excited. I am as well. And don't go anywhere because this episode is gonna be fire. So let's start with the interview with Coffeezilla. Amazing interview. If you don't know who Coffeezilla is, he has his own YouTube channel and he basically uncovers fraud, mostly done by big corporates to the average Joe person, people that steal money from normal people, basically kind of like Robin Hood but with information. So exposing all of the people who steal money from the average people. They start immediately with FTX. He goes from beginning to end explaining specifically what had happened with FTX, what's crypto, what's NFT. So if you don't understand, if you want to catch up with the information, this is perfect from the beginning. You just have to play start, and from then on is FTX and crypto for the next 40-45 minutes. Then they keep on talking about mainstream media and why independent media is popping up, and of course, as we know, they talk about all of the corruption and all the lobbyism and all that stuff. Then they go to podcasts. They show a clip of how Joe came basically on the spot. You can see it in his eyes, even though he's high as fuck, but you can see it in his eyes, basically the light bulb popping on the idea of making a podcast is hilarious. Check it out.
Dude, I think this is awesome.
Thank you, man. See, no, I mean,
This is the craziest thing ever.
it really is different, you know,
Yeah.
than television.
This
or
is
anything.
way better.
It's like radio, but it's like television, and the genre is different because we can sit here and ramp. You know, there isn't that time constraint. You know, there isn't that pressure. I mean, you know, we want to keep it moving.
Well, not
obviously,
only
but,
that,
you know,
there's not a corporate pressure. You can't just express yourself because you're expressing yourself to someone who's selling advertising space. You just need to keep doing this. We need to figure out how you make money from this.
Yeah, I've got a lot of neat ideas I want to talk to you about because I know
Yeah.
you're into this computer thing. Take a little bit from the big wigs, right?
Dude, this is,
In their
I mean,
fancy suits.
They don't need to exist.
Yeah.
They're non-creative people. We talked about this before the show. They're non-creative people who are controlling creative things.
Yeah.
And they want to have their input. Just
Together.
abandon them. Abandon ship.
So very, very interesting interview. I give it 4.5 nuts. I suggest you check it out completely. And now let's move on to Michael Malice. This was actually quite of a boring interview, I have to say. Like I said at the beginning, I have no bias and most interviews are cool, but when I find that one is boring, I say it. And that doesn't mean it's going to be boring for you, but for me, I just thought that Michael Malice was not prepared for this. Joe did most of the talking. He gave most of the value in the conversation when it comes to information. So basically, everything that Joe said, he already said in the past, so I already knew. And there was actually just pockets of information that were interesting that Michael Malice said himself. So yeah, they talk about religion, they talk about ancient civilizations, about wild creatures and fishing, and they speak about January 6th, which is our hot news of the week. Check out this timestamp and listen to this part that Joe show brought up. As I said, he brings up most of the interesting topics in this interview. So they explain the current situation of January 6th, the recent news that have come up about some new videos, some new footage, 4,000 something or 40,000 hours of footage or something like this that are come up revealing a lot of the truth that happened in January 6th. So if you're interested about that, check it out. But otherwise, I would give this episode 2.5 notes. Not very interesting. Michael Malice was missing his input or value. So yeah. And now let's move on to Duncan Trussell. They jump in the episode dressed with this gas mask from the Black Plague times. The whole studio is dark with candles. It's pretty freaky at the beginning. Actually, they start talking about the Black Plague. That takes them to COVID. They talk about worker rights when it comes to chocolate, when it comes to cobalt. And Duncan says a really nice quote. He says, being ignorant doesn't mean that you're stupid. It just means that you're ignoring information. Pretty nice quote, something to put in your pocket and take home. They speak about ChatGPT, they speak about weed, and in this timestamp, Duncan Trussell shares a trick on how to avoid the paranoia that comes from weed smoking. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. I use it. It doesn't take everything, but it works. They speak about the current political system, elections, surviving apocalypse, and the AI of the future. Pretty cool interview. I would give it 4 nuts. Definitely worth that you check it out. So now let's give you the timestamp to this amazing interview with Coffeezilla. It was really, really, really interesting. From the beginning on, they start with FTX right straight up to it. They explain baby steps, everything that happened with XTX. They speak about crypto, they speak about NFTs. So if you want to catch up with all of this crypto situation that's happening, you can listen to it in the first 50 minutes. Then Coffeezilla speaks about himself a little bit, and they move to other crypto scams. And they talk about those for a while. They move then to society. They stay away from the financial subject for a bit, and they move to society. They pull up a very interesting statistic that 30% of women are single, but 60% of men are also single. So that's actually, those math don't really match up. I guess a lot of women are single and they don't know it. Then they move to social media and everything that has to do with social media, censorship, government influence, lobbyism, mainstream media, independence media, etc. They talk about streaming in real life, the difference between posting and streaming in real life and all of the consequences and how different it is. Then they end at the show just talking about also frauds. They go back to finance. They speak about frauds and most important about the victims. So Coffeezilla says that the show couldn't be so successful if we wouldn't show the victims, because then we can all realize that it can happen to all of us. We think that we are not vulnerable to these kind of scams, but we are. So it's very important that we check this out. So this doesn't happen to us. Very, very eye-opening and enlightening. And as I said, 4.5 nuts, super interesting. So go check it out. And that is a wrap for another JRE in a Nutshell show. Thank you very much for checking out my channel, listening to my video. I hope you like it. If you don't like it, shoot me a comment. If you do like it, also, but I accept feedbacks and some things that I can improve or change. I'm always up for that. And please, if you have friends that like the Joe Rogan experience, share this channel with them. I can help them. Some people don't have a lot of time. They have kids, they have busy jobs, whatever. They cannot check out all of the interviews, and I'm here for that. So if you know someone, please share me, like me, subscribe. I'm in almost every social media platform, at least in the West. Here are the links, and don't forget to stay for the quote of the week, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
I think it's so sick that we throw the book at people who will rob a store with a gun, right? Steal $10,000. People who steal millions, billions of dollars often get away with it because it's just done a little differently. There's not the drama of the gun and even if no one gets shot. It's just he pushed a few pencils around, he got you to sign a few shitty, but that's just as sick and twisted. But it's just done in a way that socially is slightly more acceptable, and they get away with it way more often. But I would contend that these people are literally financially murdering people. After Celcius, people committed suicide because of literally, it's a fact. People committed suicide because they lost everything.